Okay, so we last were talking about the Great Awakening. We're now on part 2, so we should have all of our notes filled out for the Great Awakening, and we should be taking a look at our notes focusing on religious and social life. That's where we're starting now. Now, religion is a huge part of the Middle Colonies, and since it's such a big part, it's also going to dip a little bit into their social life. So, a lot of what they did for fun revolved around the church. Now, it's a little bit different because if you lived in the country of the Middle Colonies, what you did to socialize was very different than what you would do if you lived in the city. So, when we're talking about those things, if you lived in the country, for example, things such as building a barn would be a big deal. That would be like a party almost, building a barn. They would gather and they'd share food and they'd help, and that was just their way of showing camaraderie and bonding together. Now, people living in the city, however, they would enjoy dances and plays and concerts, and that would be their means to socialize. So go ahead and pause the video now and get going on your notes and filling out slide 11 for me. Once you have that done, go ahead and we'll take a look at slide 12 for Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia is going to be the biggest city in the colonies. We talked about that last week. The second biggest is going to be New York. It's the home to many artists and scientists. Ben Franklin is going to be one person that lived there in Philadelphia, and he really contributed to the colonies. He helped to improve the life in Philadelphia. Some of these included setting up the first firefighting company. He built a hospital, and then he also found a college and a library, which is the University of Pennsylvania. So he is a very prominent figure for Philadelphia. So go ahead and fill out your notes for Philadelphia. Pause the video here. Now, the breadbasket colonies. The middle colonies had fertile soil, and it was a climate that really worked good for farming. The middle colonies grew crops such as wheat and corn and rye. Since many of these ingredients are used in making bread, the middle colonies really became known as the breadbasket colonies. That was their nickname for those reasons. So go ahead and fill out your notes for slide 13. That'll take you all the way to question 40. And then we'll take a peek at slide 15. Now, farms and ports. Farms and ports worked hand in hand with one another. Oftentimes, farmers would go to market towns or ports to sell or trade their livestock and crops. Every market town had a grits mill. Okay, this is what you would use to ground the grain into flour. They also had a lumber mill. Goods traded at the market towns are usually going to be shipped to other colonies or England for a profit, so they'd make money out of this. Philadelphia was the busiest port. Since the city was built along the Delaware River, it really acted as the main supply port for other colonies such as Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania itself. Go ahead and pause the video and get your notes filled out for this slide, please. Now the jobs. When you're in the colonies, you had a couple different jobs here. Many of these focused on skilled trades in addition to farming and shipping. Now, a lot of these skilled workers are going to be called artisans, just like from the New England colonies when we talked about it. A lot of these artisans would come over as indentured servants. Remember, our indentured servants are those who would come over for a short period of time. They'd have their fare paid for, and then they would eventually work out of servitude and they'd become free. Now, some artisan jobs included being a blacksmith or a carpenter. Young people learned these skills needed to be an artisan by becoming an apprentice first. So first you would become an apprentice and you'd learn the trade, and then eventually you'd work your way up to being an artisan. Go ahead and pause the video and take a look at your notes now. All right, colonial jobs continued. Let's take a look at your notes here. So this will be the continuation for the last bit of our notes. Now, women and girls had few chances to work outside of the home, so really they were focused on cooking and cleaning and taking care of the children. They weren't really supposed to be working outside. Now, the only way a woman could work is if her husband died. In that case, she could take over his business. Some women ran taverns, printing businesses, and even silversmith shops, but that was the only way that they could work outside of the home, so keep that in mind. And we're back to the beginning. So at this point, we should have been able to fill out all of our notes. If not, you need to rewatch the video. Once you're finished with this, you are to silent read. Make sure that your notes are fully completed. Tomorrow we will pick up again and we'll be talking a little bit about the southern colonies. Okay, have a good rest of your day, guys. I'll see you Wednesday.